for 5 pennies. Wow, aren't we lucky to have heard that original recording of a man counting his pennies after work. Truly remarkable. Hello there, and welcome back to the final couplet with me, Theo Cowan. Today we're looking at Sonnet 92, and yep, it's another one of those. It is a direct continuation on from Sonnet 91, so much so that it starts with but. Who starts a poem with but? That's crazy. So I would suggest maybe going back and having a little listen to Sonnet 91. You don't have to listen to the whole podcast if you don't want to, but it might help to listen to that one because it gives context for 92. And if you haven't read 91, then you're not going to know what the hell's going on. But to quickly summarise, it was basically just Shakespeare saying, look, some people are proud of their social status, some people are proud of their skills, their abilities, some people are proud of being strong, but he is proud of his lover and the love that he receives from him. And that's what makes him happy. So there you go. There's a little, TV recap for you there. Let's take a listen to Sonnet 92 now. But do thy worst to steal thyself away. For term of life thou art assured mine, and life no longer than thy love will stay, for it depends upon that love of thine. Then need I not to fear the worst of wrongs, when in the least of them my life hath end. I see a better state to me belongs than that which on thy humour doth depend. Thou canst not vex me with inconstant mind, since that my life on thy revolt doth lie. Oh, what a happy title do I find! Happy to have thy love, happy to die. But what so blessed fair that fears no blot? Thou mayst be false, and yet I know it not. So there we have it, Sonnet 92 in all its glory. And I'd say the main sort of gist of this is saying that as long as his lover is loving him, Shakespeare will live. As soon as his lover does not love him, Shakespeare will die. It's as simple as that. I won't talk too much more about it until we break it down line by line, but it is sounding a little bit manipulative to say that to your lover, to say, look, I will stay alive as long as you love me. All right, so keep loving me and I will live. But if you stop loving me, I'm going to die. Okay, so do you want to grab some lunch, grab some dinner? That's a crazy thing to say, isn't it? He's lost his bloody mind. Right, let's dive into this line by line and work out what the hell Shakespeare was going on about in Sonnet 92. So we start with, but do thy worst to steal thyself away, which is basically Shakespeare saying, go on, go ahead and leave me, and see what happens. Do your worst. And then he continues with, for term of life thou art assured mine, and life no longer than thy love will stay, for it depends upon that love of thine. And here he's saying, as long as I live, you are mine. I will only be alive as long as you love me. So essentially my life depends upon your love, which is a very intense thing for Shakespeare to say, isn't it? It is really sounding quite manipulative, Shakespeare, if I'm being honest. You're saying that your life will end if your lover stops loving you. Well, what if your lover, finds someone else? God forbid. Or what if your lover just is kind of annoyed at you and realizes that they don't love you? That's the course of life. You have to accept that. You're not guaranteed for your lover to love you for the rest of your life. So this is a wild thing to say, I think, personally. Then need I not to fear the worst of wrongs, when in the least of them my life hath end. So here he's sort of explaining further what he was talking about in the first few lines. And that is, I, Shakespeare, don't have to worry about you wronging me. Because when you hurt me, even a tiny bit, I will die. To me, that sounds like you do have to worry about them wronging you, because you're going to die. If that's the tale that you're spinning here. If they do something bad, then you die. So it is you kind of don't want them to do a bad thing. But that aside, I think what he's trying to get at here is saying, I don't have to worry about you, betraying me and doing little wrongs to upset me, because I won't be upset and depressed. I will just be dead. I'll die. Straightforward. Simple as that. It's all very dramatic. But what do we expect? It's bloody William Shakespeare, isn't it? I see a better state to me belongs than that which on thy humour doth depend. So here he's saying that he realises now that he's actually in a better way, in a better position than he would be if he was dependent on his lover's affections. Then he kind of goes on to explain this a little bit. Thou canst not vex me with inconstant mind, since that my life on thy revolt doth lie. So I'm thinking here, inconstant mind, he's used that a few times, either in previous sonnets or in plays, and that, I believe, is talking about being unfaithful. So with that in mind, he's saying, you can't hurt me by being unfaithful, because my life would end as soon as you stop loving me. So he can't be hurt because he'll be dead. Similar to what he was saying at the top of the sonnet. Oh, what a happy title do I find. Happy to have thy love, happy to die. And here he's saying, look, I'm a lucky guy. I'm happy to have your love. I love that. I love when you love me. It's amazing. And in the same vein, I'm happy to die, because as soon as you stop loving me, I'll just die, and I'll be happy to, because then I won't experience the hurt and pain of you not loving me, of you being unfaithful, etc., etc., because I'll be dead. So it's actually a win-win for me. It's great. Life is great. And now, of course, we're on to the final couplet. But what's so blessed fair that fears no blot? Thou mayst be false, and yet I know it not. I like this final couplet. He's done this a few times where he sort of questions the sonnet that he set out. So he's sort of presented an argument, and then he's gone, hold on a second, but what if this? And in this case, he's saying, but is anything perfectly blessed that it causes no worries? Is anything so amazing that there's nothing to be concerned about? And he finishes with, you, my lover, could be unfaithful to me without me even knowing. Yeah, you didn't think about that, did you, Shakespeare? Your lover could be really, really good at affairs and just getting away with it. Just sleeping around with everyone, left, right and centre, and you don't even know. So I guess you would still be happy, because you'd still think that your lover loves you. But you'd also be being deceived, which isn't ideal, I'd say. So there we have it, Sonnet 92, a very dramatic sonnet. Shakespeare, of course, here saying that as long as his lover loves him, he will stay alive. If his lover stops loving him, or he finds out that his lover is doing him wrong or having an affair, he won't feel bad, he won't be miserable, he won't be depressed about it, because he'll be dead. He will die instantly, on the spot. I want to see how that happens. His lover comes into the living room and says, Shakespeare, I've got to tell you something. I've been having an affair with a friend of mine. And Shakespeare just drops dead. Cup of tea in his hand, spills all over the floor. Nightmare. That is essentially what he's saying, though. He will just die. die. He doesn't specify how quickly he'll die. Maybe it'll be a slow process, but in my head it's just an instant death, because he can't experience the misery and sorrow of being cheated on or wronged. Right. I think it's about time we put this to our story. And if you'll remember last week, Christopher Marlowe, who is in a sort of love triangle thing with Ben Jonson, the famous writer, and William Shakespeare, the famous writer. And he said, look, guys, the only way to settle this is you each write a sonnet about what I mean to you and how much you love me, and then the winner I will marry. I'll just marry, because your words will be so powerful that you win me. So they've both gone off and written a little sonnet, a little poem, and come back, and Shakespeare's read his and Ben Jonson's read his, and we are awaiting the response of Christopher Marlowe. Who is he going to choose? Find out now. Shakespeare finishes reading Sonnet 91 to Christopher Marlowe. Marlowe says, I need time to deliberate. Please leave the room. So Ben Jonson and William Shakespeare leave at once. They go down to the kitchen. Ben Jonson says, do you want a cup of tea? Shakespeare says, yeah, thanks, that'll be nice. How'd you take it? 2 sugars and a drop of milk would be lovely, thanks. And the two rivals sit in Ben Jonson's kitchen, drinking tea. They actually get on quite well when they're not fighting over a lover. They discuss art and writing and laugh together. It's rather nice. Eventually, 2 hours later, Christopher Marlowe calls them up to the room again. I have made my decision. Ben Jonson, your poem was delightful, inspiring, and quite special. Shakespeare, your poem was nice as well, really nice as well. I can't think of any more superlatives. And the winner is William Shakespeare. Shakespeare starts crying and shouting, yippee, yippee, I win, look at me. And turns to Ben Jonson and says, sorry, old pal. It had to be me in the end, didn't it? Old Willie Shakespeare wins again. Ben Jonson looks at Christopher Marlowe and says, but what about everything we've been through, Marlowe? What about the love that we had for each other? Marlowe says, look, I love you, Ben. I love you, mate, but boy, does William Shakespeare write a good sonnet. Am I right? Ben Jonson says, look, man, I can't deny that. That's the truth. Okay, well, I wish you both well, and I better leave for a little bit of time because I need to try and get over this. And Shakespeare says, sorry, Ben, we are actually in your house. We'll leave. We'll leave your house. That makes the most sense, doesn't it? And with that, he grabs Christopher Marlowe by the hand and leads him out of Ben Jonson's house. In the street, they embrace. Everyone around them look in awe at the happy couple. Shakespeare says, God, we need to celebrate. Let's go for dinner, Marlowe. I'll just quickly make a reservation at the Duck and Sparrow. He grabs a little boy that's passing by and says, Oi, you, come here, hey, come here. Can you make a reservation for me at 7:30 at the Duck and Sparrow? It's William Shakespeare. And the boy says, I'm a boy. I'm not a messenger. What the hell are you doing? And Shakespeare says, look, I'll give you some money. Just go and do it, will you? And the boy says, oh, fine. Well, pay me now. Shakespeare says, no, I'll pay you when you come back with the reservation. That's how it works. God, kids these days never want to deliver a message. And with that, the kid runs off. An hour later, he returns. Christopher Marlowe and Shakespeare have just been waiting at that spot. It begs the question, why didn't they go and make the reservation themselves? Anyway, he returns and he says, I got the reservation at the Duck and Sparrow. They'll see you there at 7:30. 7:30 rolls around. Shakespeare and Christopher Marlowe have dressed up extravagantly for the occasion. They're wearing long, beautiful red cloaks and stunning blue garters with yellow crossings on them. Yes, that's right, they're both wearing exactly the same thing. It's quite a strange decision, but if it works for them, it works for them. They enter the restaurant and the maitre d' says, "Ah, William Shakespeare, and your guest, Christopher Marlowe." "Christopher Marlowe, follow me, I've got the perfect table for you," and he seats them by a little window overlooking the River Thames. It really is romantic and magical. Shakespeare orders a bottle of Prosecco for both of them. Prosecco's just come in 1500. It's a new delicacy. They drink and laugh and kiss and smile, but Shakespeare can't help noticing that Christopher Marlowe keeps looking over his shoulder at someone behind him. Eventually, Shakespeare notices that it is the maitre d' that Christopher Marlowe keeps looking at. He's a good-looking maitre d', that's for sure. And Shakespeare suddenly gets very jealous about their loving glances at each other, their little sexual flirtations, and says to Marlowe, "Is everything okay? You keep looking behind you." And Marlowe says, Yes, Shakespeare, everything's fine. I think I'm just looking at the beautiful surroundings." And Shakespeare says, "Oh yeah, are you? Okay, good to know. If that's it, then that's it." And Marlowe says, "Of course that's it. My eyes are only for you, Shakespeare." And then he swivels his head to the maitre d' and gives him a little wink. And Shakespeare says, "Sorry, what the hell was that?" And Marlowe says, "It's my tick. You know I have a tick in my eye, and I sometimes do an accidental wink. I'm sorry. Look, you need to stop being paranoid. I love you, and I love you only. And I chose you over Ben Jonson. Isn't that enough?" And Shakespeare mumbles, "I suppose so." Marlowe gets up from the table and says, "Sorry, I must pop to the toilet. I'll be back in a second, Shakespeare." Shakespeare watches him walk to the toilet, and he brushes the shoulder of the maitre d' with a single finger as he passes him. It's ever so sensual. Shakespeare thinks to himself, "This is bloody ridiculous. I can't go through this again. If he hurts me again, I don't know what I'll do. I can't live through the depression and misery that I have lived through in the past with this bastard. You know what? If he deceives me, I think I'll just die. I'll just bloody die, so that I don't have to feel any of the horrible feelings one feels after being cheated upon." He snaps his fingers at the maitre d' and says, "Come here. You, come here. Do you have a napkin that I can write upon?" The maitre d' says, Yes, 1 second. He returns with a napkin. Shakespeare retrieves from his pocket his little quill and a pot of ink, and hurriedly scrawls Sonnet 92 on the napkin. When Marlowe returns, Shakespeare stands and says, "Marlowe, I've seen your little glances at the maitre d', and I've written a sonnet to explain what will happen if you cheat on me." And Marlowe says, "Oh God, Shakespeare, there's nothing to it. Please chill out, man." And Shakespeare said, "No, I'm not going to chill out. Listen to this, and listen to what will happen if you stop loving me or if you deceive me in any way. Are you ready?" Marlowe mutters, "You're making a scene, Shakespeare." And Shakespeare says, "I don't care if I'm making a scene, Marlowe. Listen." And with that, he recites Sonnet 92. "But go ahead and leave me. As long as I live, you are mine. I will only be alive as long as you love me. My life depends on your love. So I don't have to worry about you wronging me, because even the smallest betrayal will end my life. I realize now that I have a better fate than I would if I was dependent on your affection. You can't hurt me by being unfaithful, because my life would end as soon as you stop loving me. Oh, I'm a lucky guy. I'm happy to have your love, and happy to die. But is anything perfectly blessed that it causes no worries? Oh God, you could be unfaithful to me without me knowing. So there we have it, Sonnet 92. Marlowe has chosen Shakespeare to marry him, but there is trouble in paradise. Find out what the hell happens next week in the final couplet. Until then, goodbye.